This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by Audible. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is Tuesday, June 8th, 2021, and my guests are the awesome David Cogen on my left and Mr. Michael Fisher on my right. Welcome, guys.
It is lovely to be here.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken us a while to get to this point.
Yeah,
it has.
Like, we've
like the world as a whole.
We have toiled to get to this point. So today's Tuesday, but we already have a bunch of news, so I don't feel like we're going to get too much more this week. Because Apple did their thing with WWDC 2021. We got no hardware, and I'm mad as hell.
Same.
And then we've got, let's see, a bunch of other news. The OnePlus Nord N200 5G. I want to talk about your thoughts on that. We have a Pixel Buds A series. Again, your thoughts on that. I know you don't have these devices, but I'd love to hear, you know, we've maybe read reviews, seen what people have said.
You've done this on purpose. You've brought me on
Correct.
the second show in a row where I have nothing to say about any of this.
Well, that's not true, Michael. You always have something to say. So then the June Pixel feature drop, which includes Astro Video time lapses. And then we have, let's see, we have the Moto G Stylus 5G to talk about. By the time this is published, embargo will have lifted.
Yep.
It's a Snapdragon 480 phone. That's about the only thing I can think of that's interesting, because it's the first phone that I've come across with a Snapdragon 480, which is the cheapest, simplest 5G chip that Qualcomm makes.
I didn't know there was a 4 series.
I didn't.
I didn't either until I went hands-on with that phone.
I thought they were all okay.
That way.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, and then we have RedMagic 6R. It was announced a couple of weeks back. Imagine if a gaming phone company, Nubia RedMagic makes gaming phones like the Asus RG, decided to make a phone that did not look like a gaming phone, but looked like a mainstream flagship, but was still a gaming phone.
I've imagined it.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
It would not.
Okay.
But I'm not here just to negate you. I swear, yeah. Kogan and I probably disagree on that. So yes.
We disagree on most aesthetic things.
The only reason I got the RedMagic phones is because they looked fun. Like, I didn't get them because they were gaming
They didn't
phones.
look... yeah, but they looked... I don't know. Let's talk about that.
All right, let's talk about
and then Realme GT. I think you have one now?
I do, and I have not even had a chance to unbox it.
But you have thoughts.
Yeah.
You've touched it. You know what it looks like. It feels
It's
like.
still in the box, but we could bring it up.
All right. So
How's the box?
Let me go down and get it while you guys are talking about WWDC.
okay. So WWDC. Seriously. Well, you don't want to talk about it, or like, I mean.
Dub?
Yeah. I mean, look.
talk about
I don't want to. Like, we're gonna send you a link in the show notes of a recap from The Verge. You know, they know what they're doing. They'll have all the. It's a lot of software. You're gonna get updates on all the OS versions of all the different watch and TV and iPad and Mac and of course the phones.
Yes.
But we're going to get into some of the features that stand out in a second. But I think for me the biggest bummer is no hardware.
Same. No.
Right?
Did you have a specific disappointment? Because
Yes. Same.
Part of me I really think I wanted a MacBook Pro 14 with an M1X or something.
MacBook Pro with an M1.
Or a 16. You know, for those of you who need a little bit, like it bigger. That's what she said. Anyway, no, look, the reality is for me, I like them small, my laptops, and I have this, as you can see in the video here, is a 13-inch MacBook Air M1,
Yes.
and it's actually a little bit too big for me. So if I'm going to get more power, I want the same size. So the 13 or 14-inch MacBook Pro would have less bezels and probably more powerful, and then I could justify the size. Because I came from a 12-inch MacBook,
Yeah.
which is super light and thin.
Yeah.
And I always had a soft spot in my heart for that 11-inch MacBook Air. Remember the time?
Theo had one for the longest time.
tiny-
They just got a MacBook Air 13. Well, the current one.
Which is great, but like that 11 in particular, you'd see somebody using that, you're like, is that an Apple netbook? Am I in an alternate version of the
Netbook
year
is the right
2007?
word, yeah.
But I loved the size. It was great. I wish they would bring that back, but at any rate, I need the 16-inch.
It's weird to me that there's a lot of people that have a good track record speculated this was going to happen, and here we are, the next day, and crickets for hardware.
Yeah. Are you going to confess?
What did you want?
Because your emotion right after they didn't announce hardware was
Did
not
you
what
cry?
I was ecstatic. Because it meant I'm so slammed with work, and I was just like, oh my god, there's no hardware.
You don't have to review.
But like personally, yes, I wanted the MacBook Pro
But
in any size. I don't care. I just want the more power because the 13 is like just a little too.
You use DaVinci Resolve on a Razer.
I use it on everything. I've used it on the MacBook on this exact computer you have
DaVinci
here.
does run on the M1
Runs fantastically
native.
as long as you got the 16 gigs of RAM.
It does native though.
It does native.
Wow.
Yeah, the day they announced the M1, Resolve or DaVinci was like.
Speaking of native, the Adobe Suite came out as a native today. I didn't put it in there, but
Just today.
Just today.
Yeah, see how far behind Adobe is?
Like
DaVinci.
I mean,
and this is part of the reason I switched to DaVinci.
look, you pretty much expect. Adobe.
No, we know. Yeah.
Okay,
They have a lot of legacy code for us.
You switched from Premiere, right?
I did. Well, I mean, I can use Premiere, but no, I'm pretty much exclusively now
Your
using
workflow
DaVinci.
is DaVinci now.
Yeah.
And you are like me. You're using
Final Cut. Just don't. I can't use anything else. I love it too much.
Yeah, and I'm kind of stuck with it too. That because that's just all I really know. I tried using Premiere.
No, you'd have a much easier time going to DaVinci than you would Premiere.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because DaVinci basically looked at Premiere and Final Cut happen and went, we'll take a little of that, but we got it.
Welcome to
because they're new.
Welcome to the new podcast with two high-profile YouTube creators and one, janky YouTube creator talk about what video editing software is.
Let's talk about timelines for the next 25 minutes.
Annalise all day.
Command B versus Command V.
So let's go.
You decide.
Let's go through some of these WWDC. I don't want to spend all as much time. Anyway, so iOS 15 brings big improvements to FaceTime, updates to notifications, and more. That's the headline. So the FaceTime is apparently a big deal because you can now run FaceTime in a web browser on any non-Apple device, and you can do the multi-people. The Hollywood Squares
conference thing.
And you have blurring now. It sounds to me like Apple's caught up with Zoom circa a year ago when COVID started.
Yeah, but you have to run it in a browser on a non-Apple device. Is that correct? Yeah. So it's nice to have that opportunity.
I mean, if you have a Razer laptop like this guy, it'll scream.
For sure. I think my only thing was like...
It's a bit overkill for the browser.
when I first saw that announced, I got confused because I think someone quote tweeted that and the content of the tweet was, now do iMessage? Yes. And I thought it was an iMessage announcement. I'm like, you're going to let people do iMessage in a browser?
I think I saw that same tweet and I was like, oh God, I hope one day it'll never.
I was like, no.
One thing that stood out, and I'm not sure if we're going to run into it later in this list of Verge top whatever features from WWDC that caught my eyes, you will remember this as a Palm person and potentially as a BlackBerry person and Nokia person. For those who use a Symbian, I don't know about you for any of those.
Migo and Mimo for a
There you go, yeah. The profiles, remember? You didn't just have silent, vibrate, and sound on like we have on modern iPhones and Android, primarily Android. You had the option to create as many profiles as you wanted with different vibrations for different notifications and different... Well, iOS is going to give you that control. And the idea is that you can have a thing like I'm at home in the evening. Only the notifications I want for that feature.
Oh, I see.
I'm in the office, only the notifications that matter for that moment.
How do you control all that though? Is it like specific by the app? Because that seems like a pain in the butt.
No, well, I don't know how it's going to work.
It used to be a pain in the butt to set up on
a pain in the butt, but I bet you Apple will make it seamless and delightful and revolutionary.
It'll be a joy. You'll be thankful.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But actually, I would be thankful for that. Not to cut you off, but I every day wish for the opportunity to say, past a certain time, Gmail, don't tell me about work emails.
Right.
Because I have people waking up in the UK and then people waking up in China.
So that's why you never...
It is 11 o'clock at night and I am not sober. Do not send me a work email.
That's why you never respond to my emails.
I respond to all of your emails. And
Not the ones at 11 p.m.
But I think that I don't know how they're going to set it up. But I like the idea that, especially if it can detect, with AI over time, what your habits are, like the optimized charging on the OnePlus, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it could potentially be tied in with, the ultra wideband, whatever, detection of your devices,
nearby,
of your location.
Sure.
There's all kinds of things. You could geofence this stuff. It'd be interesting.
Yes, you could.
Anyway,
and Apple will build on that and will build it better as it always does.
Correct.
Like you said, it's 15 years late, but they're going to do it much better.
And most importantly,
it's a good idea to bring back.
The UI will be great. And that's
a redesign of the weather app.
Like what?
Are we excited?
What does that mean?
Is this... No.
I'm just reading.
I haven't seen that.
Okay. Apple is building video and music sharing into FaceTime.
So that I saw actually during the event.
What do you think of that?
Neat.
Why? Why is that neat?
It's neat for them to further invest people into their own ecosystem, because that's a feature that I feel like you would use and amongst your friend group in the same way that you use iMessage amongst your friends. And it would just like be a thing you would miss if you didn't have.
Yep.
Just and that's all that matters. Yeah, and I feel like it's
absolutely.
brilliant for them to do that.
Another walled garden goodness or badness.
100%.
I think that makes sense.
Apple is going to use AI to read all the text in your photos. That sounds like a Google photo features from 2001.
There it is.
Wait,
Yeah.
slightly anachronistic.
2015, yeah, right. Same difference. Yeah.
You'll soon be able to use your iPhone as your ID at the airport.
This is very cool. As my girlfriend said when this came out, she's like, I really hope Android catches up to this as quickly as possible. Or like the governmental agencies responsible for certifying this stuff do so for Android phones in the same way. Did you know?
No, my question is, because I didn't watch this part of the WWDC, do they have governmental approval, or is this something that they're just planning to do once they get it?
We'll soon let you store
It's
your
one sentence. Apple's wallet will soon let you store your IDs in a digital form in participating U.S. states, which you'll then use as an identification for U.S. airports.
Yeah, but once it gathers momentum, it'll be like any of the rest of this stuff.
That's
like,
true.
Only one airline came aboard with the Apple Watch QR code passport thing at first, and then
and then they all did
another
it.
one.
That's true.
It's Apple. Like there's enough users to force
50% of the U.S. smartphone.
I see this
user base.
coming
Right.
to Android pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I hope that's true because that's
But
where I live.
Google just has to raise their finger and make it happen. And we know that
then
never happens.
Yeah, I was going to say, and then not cancel it for no reason in 4 months with no justification. Yes.
Oh boy. Okay, let's see. iPadOS 15 lets you drop widgets on the home screen and bring changes to multitasking. Welcome to Android tablets circa the Moto Xoom.
For sure. Wow.
Honeycomb.
XOOM.
Honeycomb.
Are those fighting
Android.
words?
Guys, I just didn't expect to hear that brand name today. Pardon me.
High five.
Yes, circuit breaker. It's nice to see any widget development on iOS, because when they dropped that news, I will always remember where I was. It's like, they're finally going to let you change the home screen.
Yeah.
And then
Besides
we
a grid.
learned what that was, and it was like, I feel very confined by this. So that will continue to evolve, and it'll be good.
Yeah. So I think the more things they can do to differentiate iOS on the iPad versus on the phone, the better. Because as far as like even apps, when you open them, they're just too stretched versions. It doesn't make sense.
You know, I'm not an iPad user, and Harry McCracken, who's a hardcore iPad user, actually uses to write his stories for Fast Company on an iPad.
I can see
Like, he doesn't do video work like we do and stuff,
I
but
can see that.
he does. And I would love to hear his take on this, but my immediate gut feeling is with the M1 iPad Pros now, is that the hardware is far outpaced the software.
Sure.
So any improvement to iPadOS is a good improvement at this point. Because like it feels to me like the hardware is so oomphy and we don't have an OS to really drive it properly yet.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
I think for the users that they don't care, for them it works.
Right.
But for those of us who maybe would potentially consider switching to using an iPad, like we need Final Cut on the iPad. That's another. When is that happening?
For sure. I mean,
There's no reason they can't do that.
The only reason they won't do that is because it'll start to cannibalize their sales of their own devices.
yeah.
They want you to separate the world of iPad and Mac, at least for now.
Yeah.
Because they don't.
But
Otherwise, once you have that,
there's a
you know how
lot
many people would buy the iPad and not the
Instead
Mac?
of the MacBook.
But all the Pro apps that let you use the pencil, those have taken Mac users away that were using Wacom tablets.
Sure.
And then made it portable. And then there's a whole universe of music. Like all the instruments and Cubase and all the great software for making music is actually almost, if not better, on the iPad now than on the Mac.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and all of that comes down to the fact that like all those things you just said are made better by a touchscreen.
By touchscreen.
Which, in the other direction,
Yeah.
Apple will not put on a Mac because
For
it will
sure.
cannibalize iPads.
Well, what's
They want to have enough of a line between the two that you have to choose, or buy both.
not to go back to our previous series, video editing with three nerds.
Yes, please go
But I think about touch interaction on a timeline and video editing. I think about my workflow, and I think about how used to the keyboard deck I am, how used to the trackpad and mouse I am.
Yeah.
Like, I would be slowed down immeasurably by using a touch interface all the time. I've edited one video entirely on a smartphone, and it was enjoyable because it was novel, and I had an S Pen. But
it's slow.
Much slower.
Do you have like a trackpad and the mouse? You double fist?
No, I just do trackpad. I know a lot of people do mouse. I just do trackpad and keyboard. But I'm fast at that. And I think I would... Of course, it's just getting used to a new paradigm, but I do think the touchscreen is inherently slower for a task like video editing.
But I think that's what I mean by the fact that like they don't... All those other things you named are made better by a touchscreen. So for them to move them to the iPad makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Oh.
Whereas in NLE, like what we're used to, most people are so used to doing this. Yeah. And also like this is actually like, because the truth is like anyone that's using a computer at all, we all inherently lose a bit of momentum when we move from the keyboard even to the mouse.
Yeah.
And so from the keyboard, the mouse to the screen.
If you look at all of us work, I bet it's almost all keystrokes, right? I mean, we have all our
a ton of hotkeys.
Yeah, hotkeys. Yeah. So next is Apple adds welcome privacy features to Mail and Safari. What the hell is welcome privacy features? Oh, welcome. I see. Wants it.
Welcome privacy features.
Slow tonight. Apple announced new privacy-focused features at WWDC, including that Apple Mail will block tracking pixels. Ooh.
If you use Apple Mail,
Safari, nobody does. Wait,
no,
probably some people. And Safari will hide IPs. Apple is also introducing a new section in settings called App Privacy Report. Ooh.
Apple deserves credit for that. I will say.
I
like that Apple chose several years ago to be the privacy leader, at least in terms of the marketing at first, and then started following through. I was like, well, we'll see. Yeah. But that's the obvious move if you want to compete against Google. And then when they started actually following through on a lot of it, I was like, okay, I'm glad. And I'm actually a little bit sadder that I'm not a predominantly Apple user as a result, because it would be nice to be able to say, I feel a little less followed around, even though that doesn't bother me on the whole. It bothers a lot of people.
It does.
Yeah. I mean, I think this tracking pixel thing is going to be a big deal for people who do direct marketing. MailChimp uses one-by-one pixels all the time for knowing which links you've clicked on and stuff. Yeah. And they're going to have to find another way. I mean, it's very helpful as somebody who does occasionally do some direct marketing work for consulting. Like, it's nice to know which link people have clicked on, if they've clicked on it, if they've received the email and even looked at it, or if it's just sitting in their inbox. But I agree that it's a hack to use one-by-one pixel tracking. Like, there should be more of like some sort of like API for that you opt in to some extent. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Because as journalists, we want to be pitched. Like, I don't want to not receive pitches, but I want to be able to filter them and say how much of granularity I want to give them access to what I saw, right?
Definitely. But I think I would just default to you don't get to see anything.
Yeah, that's what we all do. But then we don't get no pictures.
Yeah, but I do get paranoid when I open up an email. I'm like, this could be useful. But then you open it up and you see that the signature has a graphical thing, or there's probably a one-by-one pixel in there, and you're like, you saw that I opened it up, and in a week I get a follow up on this,
and I will Bluetooth-enabled
baby bag that I'm not interested in. Yeah.
But a lot of that stuff, their privacy stuff, is blocking third parties, right? Because that's the whole internet's going that route anyway. So you can't be followed by Facebook on my website because it's a third-party pixel being implemented on my website, tracking you across the entire internet because it's on a bunch of websites.
Right.
That's a lot of what their privacy is doing. And to me, at the moment, it seems like it's just in the idea of yes, we're being nice and we're helping you. But really, they're stopping Google. They're stopping Facebook. They're two people they don't like. And it opens the door for Apple to go, hey, people who want to advertise, use our
alternative. Yeah.
They haven't done it yet to that degree, but
that's the obvious opportunity.
Yeah. That to me, that's how but I just, that's just inherent distrust of everyone, let alone.
Yeah, as a podcaster, when they introduced the potential for paid subscriptions for podcasts, that only works within the Apple Podcast ecosystem.
Of course it does. Because they can charge money for that.
My listeners are also on Google Podcasts and Pocket Casts and Spotify. Yeah. And also some of them still use the RSS feed, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do I, now do I want to move everyone over to Apple? Or do I make a custom version of my podcast? It's a can of worms for us creators. It's a real nightmare. So,
But this is the Apple motto, right?
Of course.
It's the App Store. It's the whole thing they're going through now. Is like we want to control the distribution of everything.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to tax everything.
Yeah.
indeed.
So
Buggers.
I don't know if I trust it, but yeah.
Okay, Apple Siri will finally work without the internet, so on-device speech recognition. Welcome to Google
Google
Circa
Assistant.
2010.
Now you can be frustrated whether or not you're connected to the internet. God, seriously.
Now you can't blame your internet connection for how bad Siri is.
Apple lets users see family members' health data.
Okay.
I think that's good.
So sharing with you, Apple
cool, yeah.
sharing with you kind
I'd
of
like to see
feature.
my father's health data,
That's
make
not
sure he's
bad.
okay,
Yeah,
that type of thing.
Yeah,
I
that's
get that.
actually pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Apple is making AirPods easier to hear with and find.
Yeah.
So
Hear with?
making some new changes to AirPods, such as making it easier to find them on the Find My network and the ability to announce your notifications. So like Pixel buds do. And Samsung buds do.
Presumably the AirPods stay connected though. Well, the Samsung ones do. The Pixel buds.
Yeah,
do.
you're
My
right.
Pixels are fine.
Are they?
Yeah,
We're
I bought them.
We're talking about
They
that.
were a review unit. I think we just had all the review units.
I mean, this is a minor thing. Apple's iCloud Plus bundles a VPN, private email, and HomeKit camera storage.
Yeah.
HomeKit camera storage? What is HomeKit again? I lose
It's
track.
The platform for their smart home gear.
Oh right.
You know.
Oh for security cameras. Okay.
And
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's
Well, it's nice to see them finally do something with their home automation APIs that they've been out forever. You don't see a lot of HomeKit stuff out there, right?
No, there's a lot of HomeKit enabled like third-party gear, but you're talking like speakers, you're talking home security stuff, and
Right.
yeah, and it's like I don't know, it's so far out of my wheelhouse. Like I kept tuning back into Twitter to. It was so myopic. I just kept saying, I was like, is it 16-inch M1?
No, not yet.
Okay, well,
no
that's
M1X today.
Yeah.
Apple announces Watch
hardware?
No, it's fine. Apple announces WatchOS 8 with new health features. What are those new health features? Let's see. Mindfulness app. And
yes.
improvements
This
to
is the app that will tell you to stop and think about something you're grateful for.
Oh, it sounds really hippie.
It's great. It's just like the app that tells you to breathe. Gives you a
Oh,
moment.
that's the favorite of my producer. But let's see. We've got an improvement to the Photos watch face? Are you kidding me, Apple?
Yeah, because the photos thing is like if there is, I believe, if there's a photo displayed on the watch face with depth data, you can use the smart crown, the digital crown, to like zoom in and out of this kind of image that's parallax enabled.
You know, my biggest problem with Apple Watch or
Like
WatchOS,
fidget or
which I think is the problem for a lot of people, is that it's just unintuitive and too difficult to use.
Well, the Apple one?
Compared to all the other Apple products out there.
Well, there are more layers to it, right? But I feel like I felt that way when I forgot that you couldn't change the launcher from that bubble thing that looks really cool but is difficult to like a list.
You can do that?
You can switch to a list, and then I'm like, okay, well, I can use this a little bit more.
There you go,
easily.
folks. For those of you who I didn't know you could do a list. That's cool.
I had to be reminded of it. I published a video without knowing.
I feel like the bigger problem is that
Cool.
smartwatches
I've
in general
never
are
touched
just
an
not
Apple
that.
Watch. What is an Apple Watch?
No, yeah. What is this? Who's Apple?
Just go step outside on the sidewalk. You will see 7 within 4 seconds. I mean, kudos to Apple. They have succeeded in an area where almost everyone else has failed.
For sure.
It's true so far.
Except OnePlus, who made an incredibly good watch.
Oh,
This has become a joke.
That's what this podcast should have been.
This has become a joke. Siri is coming to third-party accessories like thermostats.
Great.
And I mean, they show an Ecobee, so I assume it's thermostats.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I thought it would be more like JBL speakers or something. That would make sense.
It would.
They want to control them.
macOS Monterey lets you use the same cursor and keyboard across Macs and iPads. You can do that today with third-party apps.
Yeah.
But
I have a Logitech mouse that lets me do that.
That was interesting though, because it's not that Apple
It's not
said,
just that.
we're going to extend the operating environment to the iPad. It's not that. It's that you can take your pointer, move it from your desktop environment to the iPad, and interact with the iPad's OS with your desktop mouse pointer. It kind of breaks my brain
And
a
the
little bit.
clipboard works across them.
That's cool.
That is logical given the clipboard integration we've seen already.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're the person that's shown me, or I've seen you use Sidecar plenty
Yes.
of times.
This is one of the great
iPad. This
things.
would actually make that a lot better.
Yes.
Because it becomes more of a separate monitor
For
like
sure.
you're used to, right?
Yeah, I mean, Sidecar, I have always felt Sidecar was like the grand slam of the iPad thing. It's like,
Yeah.
you're not just buying a tablet, you're essentially if you're me, you're buying a second screen that when you don't need a second screen becomes the best tablet you can own. And this is just a natural extension of that. I have to admire it. And if I used the iPad, if I weren't all in on large scale foldables, and I still used the iPad on a daily basis, it would be great.
Do you not own an iPad? You do.
I own it. It sits in my
Because I thought it's how you use it as a sidecar thing.
I do, yeah.
So you'll use this feature at some point, maybe?
I don't travel as much, so.
Oh, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Okay, Apple redesigned Safari on the Mac with a new tab design, tab groups. Who cares?
Who cares?
Nobody uses Safari. Probably not true.
Some sort of market share, but yeah.
But in our world,
Yeah.
Apple is bringing TestFlight to the Mac to help developers test their apps. So TestFlight is very popular on iOS and iPadOS and so watchOS. So there you go. That's it. We're done WWDC. Phew. That was a lot of stuff. And none of it was a freaking Apple MacBook Pro M1.
A lot of stuff that isn't hardware.
Yes. It's funny though, because Apple does make phenomenal hardware, and when they do, it's always so delightful. It's kind of sad that we're disappointed with all these probably very good features.
I think it's, for me, and I will just speak for myself, it's not that I'm disappointed with any of the actual releases. And I know that I've been too negative for the past half hour on this. But
I'm too negative?
Well, I'm so tired of it. I think I'm just worn out, right? It's all been presented for the last 10 years. Like every one of these new tab developments in Safari will legitimately change your life. And it's like Apple has gotten so good at this slick presentation that the contrarian streak that runs strong in me, it just rebels against it. I'm like, I can't imagine wasting my time watching this. So I'm very content to watch the blog roundups afterwards now and be like, okay, good. This is the bare bones of the 10 minutes I needed and not the 2 hours.
Give me the listicle.
Yeah. So thank you, The Verge and other sites.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
For doing that work.
Well, it's important. I think Apple does bring a lot of traffic, and especially when they make hardware. So Apple make hardware.
Round Apple Watch. Give me a round.
Yeah,
Apple Watch.
I want a round Apple Watch so bad. Okay, OnePlus N200 5G will cost less than $250. I'm getting my review in it soon. I'm excited about that. Not because. Well, okay.
Why is that?
Why? As I was saying to myself, as I was talking there, I was like, maybe I shouldn't be excited. Okay, well, very jaded, granted, but
yeah. Here's the thing.
The Nord, when it came out last year, was a delightful phone, the European one, the Snapdragon 765G. And I thought, when we announced the Nord for the US, the N10 5G, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll slightly be decontented. But it was really not a OnePlus phone. It didn't have a slider for notifications. It was all plastic. It had a fingerprint sensor in the back.
Yeah.
Like throwback to I don't know. Like all the other Realmes and other BBK phones in that price range have at least the fingerprint sensor on the power key. Looks a little bit more sexy. And I just thought, what are you doing, OnePlus? And of course, it still had some elements that were great. Of course, Oxygen OS made that Snapdragon 690 sing,
sure,
but not sing quite well enough, in my opinion. And then the 90 hertz display was lovely fluid, but it was LCD IPS. It didn't look that great. And then the cameras were meh, as usual, but more meh than meh. Meh minus.
More meh.
Yeah, you let off talking about how this was an exciting phone for some reason.
So, no, but the reason I'm excited about the N200 5G is that I'm hoping that despite CalPay leaving, and it's okay. Rewinding a bit, I think what's happened with OnePlus last year is CalPay, had a vision for what Nord should be in the mid-range, and he achieved that vision with the Nord, the original. But then it wasn't profitable. It was a loss leader. It was a phone that should have cost way more for what it delivered. If you put it side by side with the OnePlus 8 and you did a video of them scrolling, they kept up with each other.
But the OnePlus 8, but we all agreed the OnePlus 8 was just ugly, the ugly duckling of that
it was,
release.
But I'm just saying, in terms of performance, for a Snapdragon 765G, it was probably the fastest 75G last year. And so I was thinking, that they would never dilute down to the N10 5G and the N100. And they got a lot of slack from the reviewers last year. So I'm wondering if it could be one of two directions. This N200 5G for the US and also the OnePlus Nord CE Core Edition 5G for India, which is probably going to be very similar. Mm-hmm. If these two phones kind of redeem themselves a little bit, maybe, then we have, an opportunity to be excited. And that's my positive thinking. My negative thinking is that the Oppofication of OnePlus is complete.
That's it.
And it's not Oppo for the markets where they don't have Oppo, including North America. And that Realme is really the one to watch out for, because I've tested a few Realme phones in the last few months and they've all delighted me. They've all been phenomenal for the money. They're kicking butt. They use MediaTek a lot, which is great. Anyway, the point is that I think after talking to Sasha tonight over dinner, Sasha Segan, I think we don't know what the specs are yet on this thing. The only thing we know is it has a 90 hertz LCD IPS.
Is the Nord N200?
The N200. And the N10 had that too. It has a big battery, I think 5,000 milliamp hour, good par for the course. But we don't know the processor. And so if it's a MediaTek Dimensity 700 or 800, I'll be happy. If it's the Snapdragon 480, which I think it might be, which is the cheapest 5G chip that Qualcomm makes, which is on par with the 600 mid-range 600 series from last year in terms of performance. From everything I hear, it's not going to be that great because it's less than the 690 that was used in the N10 5G.
Yeah.
If it was a MediaTek chip, then I think it might be able to redeem itself simply because it's less than 250.
I mean, it's cheap.
With the US.
I don't know. We spend a lot of breath talking about like the cost to performance ratio, right? We talk about hertz, we talk about refresh rates, and it's like, I really think that when OnePlus said that the Nord line was somehow a return to form for it, it like focused way too heavily on those numbers and not on the actual spirit of the thing. Like,
I don't know. I felt that the original Nord, the European one, really delivered that.
I didn't. That thing didn't have an ounce of personality in it.
It was a bit boring.
There was no aesthetic, like even
came in a cool color.
Did it?
Yeah,
like that cool greenish bluish.
The greenish blue, yeah.
That's about it.
Did you get that one, or did you got the black one?
I don't remember. It was an utterly dull phone, which I've not been able to say about a OnePlus phone very often, which is why I was like, "This is what you're calling your return to form?" I don't see it. I just don't.
Right.
Okay.
And so I don't see that with any. And the Nord line has never turned me around on that. And you're right about the Oppofication. Look, this is a company that has decided that, rightly so. Look, we're going to make. This has always been the plan.
The OnePlus 9 is a perfect example of that.
We're going to start with the enthusiast, and now we're gonna move into the mainstream, and we're going to make a lot of money in the mainstream by doing the thing that every other smartphone company does just better. And they're all just boring boxes now. So we're going to make another boring box that's a different color with a different name on it.
I'm still annoyed that the OnePlus 9 has a plastic mid-frame and no OIS. The OnePlus Nord Original had OIS. The OnePlus 8T had OIS. Like, what the hell? That's a major, major feature drop. Like, at that price point, for what it is, a flagship, an affordable flagship nonetheless, but a flagship. The OnePlus 9 Pro hits all the boxes, but yet it costs so much money that you're better off walking into a Verizon store and buying Galaxy S21 Ultra because you can get it for almost the same price.
Then you don't get a moon camera.
Like, how do you feel about this?
Kind of
it's not Hasselblad moon camera. It's just a moon camera.
How do you feel about this whole Nord and OnePlus 9? I feel like the OnePlus 9, they kind of hit and missed the boat again.
So I feel like this is the MO for frankly, most companies that are new to this market. They all do the same thing. OnePlus did it first and did it really well, and it set the blueprint for everyone else. So essentially, it's sell everything at under cost, take a loss on it because we are a giant company that is a part of a much larger company, so we can take the loss. Yeah. And we're going to build the brand and the brand name and all these other things, and then once we start to get recognition, then we can start to raise the prices back up. Realme has not done it yet because they don't. Nobody knows who they are yet. Yeah. As soon as that name is on the shelf in Verizon, guess what's going to happen? They're going to do the exact same thing. And so I'm not surprised by anything you're saying. I've not heard of the new phone. I've not seen it, but like they're literally just playing the same. It's the Oppofication. That was the good way of putting it. Was like that parent company who does what they do because they have such a big name in China. They can. OnePlus couldn't do that originally, but now they can. Realme will do it next. Anyone else that gains market share is going to just follow the same plan. It's a loss leader. Like everyone does that. Like Amazon did it. They blitz. What is it? There's like a name for it in the industry, right? It's like I don't know the right word. It's blitz something, but it's like literally like just take all of your profits, kill them to get bigger market share.
Yeah.
Right.
They're all doing it.
No, for sure. And I think the Realme started as an India-only brand and is now become a global brand other than North America, of course.
Yeah.
And it is kind of the value leader for BBK at this time. It has replaced OnePlus in that territory.
However, OnePlus used to be.
I don't think it's ever going to come to the US because now that they have the OnePlus brand, they have the BBK brand they need in the US.
Yeah, maybe that's true.
Ever is a strong word, right? Because eventually this will all trickle down. This disillusionment that is oozing from my pores right now. And to a lesser extent, it's like everyone in the regular world will start to hear this more and more. It's like, yeah, OnePlus, I don't know, I heard about it, I heard they used to be cool, but no.
They're losing their brand equity as we speak.
And they do the exact thing that you just said, Miriam. They're like, well, hold on a second, I can get a Samsung for, well, in a lot of cases, less, because the S21 Ultra is already discounted below the 9 Pro. That's what I'm saying. So, like, that, I think this dance, though, will always take place. Yeah. There will always be a OnePlus to Realme to Essential to whatever the hell is coming. You know, there's always going to be those people who chase
a hole in the market.
That thing, right? Where it's like, but these guys are rushing to fill it.
Yeah.
And especially when you're a company like BBK, to that point of like who owns all of those companies, people aren't familiar, right? Like they have so much money that it doesn't matter. They can take an entire brand and go, we'll sell that at a loss. We'll literally lose money in every single one that we sell in order to get market share, because that makes more sense over the long term, which is how a lot of those companies think. They care more about the 10-year plan than they do the 2-year plan.
I was reading somewhere, and I can't verify this with a link to be 100% sure it's accurate, so take it with a grain of salt, but I was reading somewhere that if you add all of the BBK Group sales, which right now is separated in the charts of number one sales in the world, if you add them together, they beat even Xiaomi at their own game at being number one right now.
I don't believe
that's crazy.
And Xiaomi has multiple brands too. They have Poco, they have Redmi, they have Mi and Xiaomi, and CC in China.
Oh, really?
And in the same way as BBK has Oko or whatever in China as well.
Oh,
yeah, we haven't seen any of those phones yet.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get my hands on those.
And just watch for it. Like one of these days,
they'll come.
Like
I promise.
You won't uncover that it's BBK right away, but some influencer turned entrepreneur will say, I just decided I was tired of covering phones. I wanted to make my own, so I struck out on my own. And then
Mr. Mobile phone.
Hey, don't spoil it. So
I was like, wait, I want to do this. Let's do this.
Pre-orders open August 1st. Please get in line.
That is brilliant. As an aside, I want to say that one of the eternal problems I have this year, I cannot make up my mind as to which flagship to go to next. My OnePlus 8 Pro being the main one I've used for a while. I've gone back to the Pixel 3 XL temporarily. I've told you why, because it's all set up and I want to kind of get a mid-range Pixel experience again.
Yeah.
So I want to see what it feels like, because the Pixel 5a is coming soon and I want to kind of get a feel. I don't want to set up the 4A 5G I have with all my stuff on it. But I cannot decide where I'm going to go next. I was all set on the OnePlus 9 Pro and then it was like, okay, it's good, but I have a Galaxy.
You want it?
I have one. I have a Galaxy S21 Ultra that I really like right now, but I can't see myself with a Samsung as a main phone.
Come on.
So no, the
Galaxy
one, but
Motorola Razr.
The Verge.
Definitely have the
TCL Fold.
Mr. Mobile.
And Mr. Foldable.
Mr. Foldable.
Did you say TCL Fold? What did you say?
Yeah.
It's coming out.
Okay.
So, but The Verge had a recent top 5 best phone for enthusiasts, which I think is an interesting article.
Oh, I didn't know.
One of them was totally the phone that right now I would totally use as my main phone if I could get 5G or even decent 4G on it.
I wonder if I can call this.
Oppo Find X3 Pro.
Oh. That makes sense.
I love the Oppo Find X3 Pro Perfect. It's the perfect size. It has all the features I want. It has really good cameras.
And then an amazing
display.
The display.
Oh my god!
It's like you're looking at a glass window.
It is
like
incredible.
You're just holding it. Oh.
And it costs a lot of money. It's exclusive. You can't easily find it in the US. The Verge listed all that. They're like, you can show a phone to your friends that they will not be able to get here.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. But then, you know what? I put my T-Mobile SIM in it, and 90% of the time, I'm on 3G. Even LTE has a hard time. Never mind 5G support.
Frequencies are just missing.
It's so bad. So I can't do that. But otherwise, that would have been my flagship this year. Even though it doesn't have the greatest telephoto, and the microscope is gimmicky, the rest of the phone is so solid.
Don't S on the microscope.
It's cool, right?
It may be gimmicky. I don't care. I love it. No other phone can do it.
How many times have you taken photos with it?
85.
Other than the first week.
7.
Other than the first week, 3.
Yeah.
It's going down, guys.
No, wait, hold on. I've used it. I used it for something else. I was doing a project, and it was the only tool that I could use to like take a photo of when I needed. It was a pixel mat.
I was like, now I have questions about this project.
It was a tech thing, but
you wanted to analyze a display, right?
But don't you agree
You're
that
right,
if you
yeah, like your average person.
if you look at all the flagships this so far in the first 6 months of the year, I think that's one of the best. The Mi 11 Ultra was really solid too, but it's so big and
I
massive.
haven't used that one yet.
With the big cons,
Yeah,
the camera con.
Yeah, the massive
I wanted to use that.
It's good. It's a good one.
I might actually.
The cameras on this are solid too. Like Xiaomi's done some really good work on their cameras.
I'm interested in that.
Anything that
But-
ostentatious.
it has to.
But it's
freaking
too.
here for.
It's just too. Yeah, it would fit. I think you should do a video on it.
It's too late.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to Pixel news. There's a couple of things. The Pixel Buds A series was somehow ended up in the hands of reviewers without either three of us, any of three of us, getting them from Google somehow. But
my favorite is the double hit, and you know this. When you wake up in the morning and that's the first news you see, some embargo is lifted, and you're like, oh, I guess those went out. And then the next tweet you see is somebody not saying like, hey, you should have gotten one of these, but like, how dare you ignore these? What are you doing?
Because they think
do your job.
you get that in your comments?
What? Yeah,
Oh my God.
It's like, yeah.
It's funny.
Why are people ignoring the Pixel Buds A?
Anyway, so the Pixel Buds are out. There's some reviews. I'm going to link to the Engadget review. I'm getting a pair. I'll let you know on the podcast what I think of them. I like the original Buds. I didn't make them my main earbuds because there's the connectivity issues and a bunch of other issues.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Did you get the review unit?
Not yet.
No, for the old Pixel Buds, I mean.
No, same thing. I had to hunt them down.
You bought them, or did
No,
you? They sent you review units.
Yeah, but I had to beg and.
So, but here's the thing. I have a theory because I've now done this to everybody in our group. I didn't get them from Google. I went and bought them.
Okay.
And mine don't have connectivity issues.
Yeah, but Reddit is full of connectivity
Is it?
reports on the Pixel Buds.
Okay.
Original. Yeah.
There's a theory.
It's a bummer.
Reddit
because
ruins
I
my theory,
love those things
as most
so
of my
much.
theories.
Those were going to be my next ones. Like I chased
They're
down
great.
Nomad. I was like,
mine are fantastic.
I talked to Nomad, and I was like, I'm already getting your cables for another project. Yeah. Can I have one of your cases for the Pixel Buds because it's so beautiful? And these are going to be my new earbuds. And then they let me down time and time again, like months after the review ran, and I was like, wait, you were fine with the Pixel, but you don't want to get along with any other phone? Like, I don't. What's the problem?
That's a shame. Okay.
I mean, I just.
I take it back.
We could have an entire episode about Google PR and how weird it is. But
well, sure. I mean,
the bottom line is that I'm getting them from Google, and I'll let you know because I like a good pair of earbuds, and Pixel Buds have generally been pretty good. So the other thing that Google did this week is a Pixel feature drop, and lo and behold, this rumored astrophotography time-lapse feature is really what sticks out for me here. Let's see what else includes in the feature drop. But basically, what do you guys think of that? I mean, astrophotography is really cool to start with.
It's incredible.
But now doing time-lapses? Woohoo!
If you have not used the astrophotography feature in a while and you're a Pixel owner, like you owe it to yourself to go just do it for fun. Because if you live in a market that allows that, where the light pollution is low enough.
Here in New York City, the astrophotography is kind of lost on me.
Difficult to do. But I remember taking, it was the 4A. It was last summer. It was the first 4A. And I took it out to the east end of Long Island where I grew up. Mm-hmm. Cogen, you were on that trip with me.
I believe I was there.
I set it up and I was like, I can't believe the image I just captured of the cosmos. But not so much. That's the thing that's often lost. Like, you hear astrophotography and you're like, yeah, you can see the stars really well. But it's the like juxtaposition of the star field over a particular venue that you select. Like this skyline that I've been familiar with since I could form memories. And now I can see the Milky Way over it.
Got it.
And via a photo I took on a phone.
Right. And that's crazy. Also because it can do, because I've not used the astrophotography feature. I'm honest, because again, living in New York City, I just haven't taken it with me. But like it also, because it is a Pixel, can auto-expose the foreground along with the sky as well.
Exactly.
Right.
Remarkable
That's
technology.
Yeah, like because even my like camera, I can do astrophotography with the Sony.
Right, but
like the difference in that to that,
it's all the
no brain. Just let the AI do it.
It's a computational stuff, right?
That's pretty cool.
And it's with the thing you have in your pocket.
Do that as a time lapse.
You don't need a tripod. You balance it against a rock. It doesn't matter. That's pretty cool. God, I love phones.
Mr. Mobile.
I was about to say.
There's more features. One of them is called Heads Up, which reminds you to look away from your phone from time to time if you're using it for a long time. You can set that up, stuff like that. But look, I was most excited about the astrophotography. So I'll link to an Android police story with all the rest of it. Unfortunately, it's not bullet pointed. I'm too lazy to read. So let's move on to more interesting. Well, actually, at first not so interesting, but then more interesting thing. There's going to be a good debate about the RedMagic stuff. But first, I want to bore you to death with the Moto G Stylus 5G. Well, look, okay. The G series is a well-established, decent mid-range, non-offensive in the sense that they don't ever try anything too spectacular with it. And it never really comes in at a best pricing. It goes down in price pretty quickly. And, you know, that's what the G series is all about. And last year when you were in Chicago, you weren't? Mm-hmm. You were, yeah. You were in Chicago, we got to see the first G Stylus, which was essentially a Moto G with a stylus.
Correct.
And then this January, we got the second gen, which had a Snapdragon 678, which is the highest end of the 6 series that you can get.
Okay.
Non-5G. And so it's a 4G phone, really big screen, almost 6.8 inches, stylus. Basically the evolution of the Moto G from last year, similar price, and we thought that was it. Now they just released this Moto G Stylus 5G, which is a 5G version of that phone.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that makes me scratch my head and makes me so non-enthusiastic about it. I have a review in it right now, and it's just a Snapdragon 480 5G. They basically just wanted to have 5G on there, so it's actually technically a lesser chip, not just, even though the 480 is a pretty decent fast, because it's pretty recent, it's a pretty decent, it compares well to the 600 series, but not the 678. The 678 is like the best of the 6 series. So I don't get it.
So is it a Verizon exclusive?
No, it's unlocked.
Not millimeter wave.
It's unlocked, no millimeter
low
waves.
band.
It's low band.
I was curious.
And it's got a little stylus, obviously. So for those of you watching on video, I'm showing it off right now. But
the stylus is now symmetrical.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about which direction to put it back in, which is a big improvement.
I remember the first one, had the little.
And I think it's a good looking phone. They moved the fingerprint sensor from the power lock key to the back, like in very Moto fashion.
On the Moto logo.
On the Batwing.
But the camera setup it's very like basically they didn't improve anything apart from some software tweaks.
Yep. And
the price is what kills me. It's $400. But the thing is, like, if it's that much money, like you can get again, as much as I don't like the OnePlus N10 5G, it's a $300 phone with 5G. With Oxygen OS, it doesn't completely suck. Why would you ever even look at a Moto G Stylus? For the stylus?
For the stylus, because here's the thing. I think Motorola is trying to capture that, like, whatever the tiny slice of the market the LG Stylo occupies.
Oh, that's right. And they've gone now.
There was a little slice of people who would buy a mid-range phone with the stylus. So absolutely, go after that.
Yeah.
Second of all, like I do feel like Motorola, I don't want to stand up for this phone because I agree with you. It's priced too high.
But it's going to go down in price right away, right? We know that.
It's going to go down in price, but also one of the reasons the price is so high is because they've thrown in 256 gigs of native storage.
Which is pretty good.
And 6 gigs of RAM, but the carriers are going to release a 4 gig 128 version.
That's right.
That's going to be cheaper. They won't say what the price is because the carriers have to decide it, but it'll be cheaper.
Let's lose $100.
So this makes sense.
Probably.
I think the bummer for me was like Motorola software. I would take it over OnePlus. I would take it over Action OS just because I happen to like the chop to flashlight, the twist wrist to camera, and also the Moto display
default?
stuff.
Let's see.
It is on by default, yeah. And when you use a phone that's not a Motorola phone after having used a Motorola phone, you're like, why isn't every phone doing this? So
that's because you're a Razer user, Mr. Mobile.
Hey man, it folds.
That's it.
But
that's it. That's all it does.
Hey. It also turns on the flashlight when you
sound snippet. It's so good.
Here's the thing that I was bummed out about was that, like, the Moto G is their best selling line. It's the thing that makes Motorola money now. It's why Motorola is able to do crazy things like the Razr, because they can afford to do it on the back of a thing like the Moto G. And they say in the presentation, they're like, we want to capture these people who want style, who want fashion, who want design, who are design appreciators. I'm like, how did you do that? Because this looks like every Moto G you've made for the past 2 years.
Actually more boring than the 4G version of this phone. I have it.
Dull as dog ass, but it's green. That was the response.
Oh, the emerald is really nice.
The emerald, cosmic emerald paint job is pretty, but it's not enough to overcome the dullitude of the rest of
fake
this.
glass used by Moto here is the best quality fake glass you can get.
And then you've got, here's the thing, another awesome feature they always put into their phones and never refine is spot color, which they've brought to video now. So you can like point your phone at a scene and you get all the color and you say, you know what, no, I just want the yellow. And it'll capture the yellow stripes of the intersection, the yellow traffic lights, but it doesn't do it well.
You know who else was doing that? Around circa 2010?
I was going to say, like
the
Sony.
Lumia 1020 from Nokia.
No, they weren't doing spot color, were they?
They were.
Not video.
Not on video, but they were doing it on photos. And check out this incredible chin.
Oh, the chin is so gruesome.
Like, there's my finger.
It's so brutal.
The screen is on. It's quite the bezel down there.
And when the screen does not get nearly bright enough when you're out in the sun.
No, it's an IPS. We're used to 1,000 nits OLEDs, you and I.
But I mean, if you make it $200, then it's worth caring about. Like at the moment, it's like I can go get a Realme GT for what? Here's the thing. Like, this is the last thing I'll say about this phone. When Motorola said we're having in-person briefings in New York, we are going to show you our new mid-range device. I got excited because I thought they were going to bring back the Moto X again.
I thought they were going to make a Razer mid-range.
Oh,
for $799.
That would be incredible, but they're not there yet.
Yeah.
Like, if they had brought back the Moto X again, the thing about, say what you will about the Moto X 2017, that cost the same amount as the phone we're talking about now, and you could not take your eyes off it. That thing was beautiful. And it was
metal and glass.
Gorgeous. With that like S pattern in the glass, and the camera module looked like a silver dollar with those knurled edges. Like, there was real attention to detail given to the aesthetics of that device, and that is not present in any Moto G.
A lot of companies have done that. A lot of companies have gone back in that price range, anything less than $400, to just pure plastic, maybe a glass bag every now and then.
Yeah.
It used to be like, remember the Moto G7, I think it was, or 6? That was $200 glass and aluminum sandwich. It had metal rails with the antenna bands. It had a glass back and a glass front, like for $200. And at the time, I praised it in my review on Geekspin because I was like, finally, a $200 phone that's built like a flagship. And then they were like, oh, too much money.
But I guarantee you all the companies are doing that for a reason. They've run the numbers, they've looked at the data. They said anybody who's even considering this would not care if it was matte finish brown plastic.
It's true.
With no accents.
There's enough control groups to determine that that's the case.
Yep.
And that's what it is.
And I get it, but it doesn't make it any less disappointing.
All right, so we have about 10 minutes left. There's a couple of items here. One I think is going to be a good debate. It's the RedMagic 6R. What if I told you, Mr. Mobile, since you're the detractor here of this, that somebody made a gaming phone that just looked like a flagship, but it was still a gaming phone because it had trigger buttons and all that, but it did not look like an ugly big thing with big bezels and gaudy, nasty design in the back, and it had 144 hertz display, Snapdragon 888, and multiple probably not too bad cameras because it's RedMagic,
probably pretty bad cameras.
Probably pretty bad, but more bad cameras than less bad cameras.
No.
And had a price of US $499 with Snapdragon 8.
I would say to that person, to that prospective customer, take the amount of time it took you to save up that amount of money, double it, work, do whatever you need to do. Ask your parents, ask your friends. Don't ask me, because I don't have it anymore, but figure out how to get enough money to buy an Asus ROG 5 Ultimate, which actually respects the legacy of gamers
ultimate
in its construction, yes, and actually tries to do something with that expression, and tries to like elevate that experience and doesn't just squander it with this forgettable, boring thing.
I used to
I love RedMagic phones when they are assertive, when they're exciting, and this is
but I feel they haven't been exciting in the last two generations. I've had every single one of them.
The one from last year, it was gorgeous.
That one,
gorgeous, and the transparent one after that.
Well, I never got that one. That's why.
Well, you saw it.
But you have an opinion too.
Yeah, I disagree with him entirely.
No way.
You agree with me then that this is cool because it looks like a flagship?
I've not seen it. I don't know anything about this device. But I do like the idea of a gaming phone that costs less does that audacious.
That looks like a normal flagship, but it's got the shoulder buttons, the cool little circuit board stuff of the RedMagic.
I can't get behind that, in the words of William Shatner.
Well, so Fisher and I differ aesthetically on everything.
Everything.
So he wants things to be chunky and like make a statement in his mind. Obnoxious is the real word.
You know, they share an office, by the way.
We do, it's great.
Can you imagine what happens?
Every now and then we agree on stuff. It's very rare,
It's off-putting.
It's off-putting, it's weird. But no, but like, I prefer minimalistic design, etc., etc. So like, I like that. I think that's cool. It's the same thing that happened when... Who did the like software? It was like gaming software, and then you could go vanilla Android instead. Even though the device itself was...
Asus always
does
that.
Asus?
Yeah, they
ROG
always
does that.
They have a dual mode launcher where you could be like...
always would turn it into the Android vanilla launcher, which I feel like he...
Same. Oh! I do too.
See, this is weird.
I don't like the game. I don't like it from a software perspective. But
you just went on the hardware. Okay. But I still
if you're going to
disagree.
buy a gaming phone, you don't want to be like everyone else. Look, I think this option, the fact that this option exists makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Not all gamers are created equal. Some folks who love gaming do want a subdued phone. It's like why Razer.
I was about to say, it's me and the Razer laptop.
Yeah.
I would wish the laptop looked less and less like a gaming device, because the only reason I use it is because I want that power and I want to be able to do the things that I need to do on the go.
All right, so, it's interesting you mentioned that about the Razer laptop and how you use it. It's a gaming laptop, but you use it for video editing and production work.
I play no games.
And I think that's why I'm excited about this phone, is that if I want to not ever play games on this phone, it'll serve me well as a flagship, but look a little different and be unique. And if I do one day decide to suddenly play a game and maybe like dip my toes into gaming, I have the triggers, 400 hertz refresh on those and all that good stuff.
What looks unique about this phone? The whole thing about this phone is that it's masquerading as a regular phone.
No, but look at it. It's got some cues from the RedMagic, like those little indents that are different color, and then it has also some clues of like the OnePlus 9 Pro with that camera pod. I don't like the way the cameras are laid out on any of the gaming phones right now.
Yeah,
like
I
cameras,
can't disagree there.
Why can't you make a gaming phone that is so powerful, like the Ultimate? I agree with you. It is the
ROG 5 Ultimate. It's a phone.
Why can't you make a gaming phone that has good cameras as well? Why right now these things are contradictory, and that's why I know this is not going to be great in terms of camera because it's Nubia/RedMagic.
No.
But if Asus took all the care they took for the Zenfone 8 camera, not the 8 Flip, the 8, which had OIS, is an actually pretty decent camera. If they took that care and put it in the ROG phone, it would be a better experience. And why don't they do that? That's why I'm slightly excited about this.
I think that's cool. I mean, it's the first time I've seen it, but I like that concept.
Also, it's super thin.
I've already forgotten it.
Checks out.
That's it. That's it. We're done. I'm just kidding. All right. The last one we're going to talk about, we're actually going to show on video for those people on Patreon. And actually, I want to thank my new patrons this week. I have a Jeff, and I actually have somebody called Derek. There was a Derek this week as well. So thanks, guys, for joining. I appreciate it. We'll talk more about the Patreon later. Patreon.com/TankGirl. That's TNKGRL. But thanks for being our new patrons. And if you want to watch this show unedited before the audio version on video, join the Patreon. So we're going to show you the Realme GT 5G, which is the flagship, the Snapdragon 888 based phone from Realme, the first in a while that they've made that's like, all the specs. I'm getting a review unit, but Mr. Mobile here just received his device.
I did. Would you pass it
right
over?
there?
Look at this.
We're going to do like a mini unboxing on the show.
That's a cool box.
This is. So this box for the audio folks is black and yellow, which is, if I'm honest with myself,
it's a great
40% of the
combo.
reason I said, please send me this.
I'm
a sucker for black and yellow.
What does it say
Ever
inside?
since that advertising agency did a campaign for Nextel in 2004, that was all black
That's
and yellow.
because you used to work for Nextel.
Also, I was a fan. I wasn't just an employee, I was also a customer.
That's right.
Dare to leap, says the
That's
slogan.
what it says. Thank you.
So
By
that's
the way,
their logo.
if that is written on the phone, I am sending
it's written on some of their phones.
I know.
I have the Realme 8 Pro and it has that on there. What's the scent?
I can't get behind that.
What's the scent you're getting? What's the vibe? Shenzhen?
Adhesive,
Shenzhen.
processed paper,
Okay.
and fish.
Fish. That's definitely Shenzhen.
Dried fish. Realme GT. There's some shrink wrap on this. Also, this reviewer's kit comes with a 50-watt mini charger.
Wireless?
I think.
That's cool.
I think it's I don't know. I think it's wired, but
It's
I think
very thin.
And then Realme Buds Air 2, which I will never use, but the 50-watt charger sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's nice, right?
Yeah, right. Check them out.
Here, I'll pass them on to Cogen, who will decrypt it for us.
On the box, Realme GT Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 5G, 65-watt Super Dart charge.
I call it Dart.
Super Dart.
It's compatible with, you know what?
With VOOC? Is it a VOOC?
I think it might be compatible with VOOC. Yes.
120 hertz Super AMOLED full screen, and a Sony 64 megapixel triple camera.
Right. I found this out, by the way, as an aside, folks, because I have the Vivo X60 Pro Plus in my pocket right now, which doesn't have wireless charging, but the fast charging on the BBK Group phones is all compatible except Vivo.
Except Vivo?
Vivo has their own thing.
Fascinating.
Really? Yep. But OnePlus, Oppo, and Realme, all interchangeable.
This is my first time seeing this particular sticker in person since the entire US-China. Avi Greengard called it conscious decoupling in the article he wrote today. This is the Android sticker that tells you, with easy access to the Google apps you use most. Just in case you thought you were buying a Huawei phone or something like that. Jeez.
So there's Google on here.
What a mess, yeah. All right, hey, comma, welcome to Realme family.
They say that on all of them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They should put a the in there.
Yeah, Shenzhen.
Yeah. Hey, it's a phone. Oh, it's yellow, yes.
It is?
Look at this thing. Look at the black racing stripe through a yellow back on this thing. Do this. Silence, please.
Oh,
God,
AMSR, part of the podcast.
Yes.
Ooh, I think we might have picked that up.
I'm so very into this.
Shiny.
Wait, let me feel. Oh,
is it leather?
It feels like fake leather.
Is it fake leather?
I mean, the vegan leather, the whole BBK Group has used on every device.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with.
I love it, actually.
Right,
This is not knocking it. Just think it's funny. It's passed around from device to device.
This is
brand to
hot.
brand. Ooh, this is cool.
Very nice. Very nice.
Into that. Now,
So
this is
now-
what I'm talking about. This is what I've been complaining about the whole podcast.
See?
Everybody's making boring phones. They don't have courageous material choices.
And you were like telling me what you don't cover Chinese phones much. This is why I cover Chinese phones. They're
as I said,
outrageous and amazing.
You're our last guest, but you want to do the peel? No, you do it next to the mic.
Yeah,
David
get
Cogen.
close to the mic.
This evening's peel off presented by David Cogen.
I don't know if I can. I don't think Dave doesn't have enough nails to do this.
I can get it started for you.
Well, you might have to, but.
Had a dude yesterday who was like,
Oh, I got it. Love it.
I love watching that waveform peak. That was great.
Oh, that was nice.
R.I.P. headphone users.
Sorry, guys. And girls.
All right.
This thing is gorge, and I cannot wait to make use of it.
Turn it on. See what the screen looks like.
All right.
So this is why you want to join Patreon, folks, because you get the video version unedited with all this madness that just happened.
You can see the sweat gradually accumulate on my face as the temperature rises in here. Realme, powered by Android.
Is there any kind of cool boot up animation?
A little yellow Realme.
Yellow matches. I like it. Attention to detail.
You know what I love about this is, have you noticed that it's the same size as the Vivo? It's not a huge flagship.
Yeah.
See, it's 6.4 inches for this one.
It's well sized.
It's a decent size. I'm sick and tired of the 6.67 inch and 6.8 inch phones. They're so big.
I agree. And I think the thing we will have to look forward to on this is price, which isn't announced yet. So we'll see.
It is announced for Europe.
It's not announced for Europe yet, is it? Price?
As far as I know, The Verge leaked it.
Did they?
Yes, it's in their article.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, then,
it is
what
Euro
is it?
549.
Oh yeah,
So,
it's definitely in the headline.
It's in the headline. So 549. Let us read the specs. We can wrap the show up like that. Okay, how does it feel to have a phone with a Snapdragon 888, 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, and let's see, we have a bunch of cameras. Where are the
primary cameras on the back?
Yeah, let's see. So 120 hertz OLED, 6.43 inches, 4,500 milliamp hour battery with 65 watt Dart charging. Bring out the Dart.
Super Dart.
And 64 megapixel primary, 8 megapixel ultra wide, and 2 megapixel macro.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Sticker cam. Okay, this is the last one they did that was a flagship was a Snapdragon 855 Plus. So it's been a couple of years.
It's a what now?
The last time they did a GT, flagship, was an A55 Plus a couple of years back. It was called the X3 Super Zoom, and it had a periscope. Telephoto.
Now, did you tell the Patreons that the last bonus thing?
Which is?
They get to hear me read the entire Realme smartphone user agreement.
Okay, that'll probably be cut out of the audio version.
We ready?
Yes.
Okay. Cheers. If you are... No, I'm not going to do that. God, this is long.
Okay.
Agree to continue.
Well, I mean, it's a cool phone. Like, as soon as I saw it and I heard that it was leather and glass, I was like, faux leather. I was like, okay, this is going to be a very cool phone. So anyway, we should wrap it up. Do you want one at a time? Let's start with maybe Cogen. Tell us where we can find you on the internet. Your social media, all that stuff.
You can find me on YouTube and all of the socials, essentially, at TheUnlockr. TheUnlockr, the letter R. Because when I started over a decade ago, it was cool not to have an E.
It's like Flickr.
About the same time.
For us, why Tank Girl has no vowels.
Yeah.
Oh, we're of the same ilk. I like it.
That's right. Michael.
Don't want any vowels if you can help it.
Just add.
The Mr. Mobile. TheMrMobile. Also almost everywhere. And occasionally Captain 2 phones. Captain, the number 2 phones, depending on when and where you find me.
And Mr. Mobile's YouTube channel. And the Unlockr's YouTube channel. Go there, folks, because there's good content on a regular basis. And a lot of cross-pollinating between your channels lately. It's been very delightful.
Indeed.
I've been enjoying your vlog style, Cogen, that includes appearance by the Michael.
Yes.
And then your, more review formal style that includes appearance by the Cogen.
Little encapsulated bits of creative theft from the Unlockr. My favorite thing to do.
No, it's fun. We have a good time.
It's great.
It makes it a lot more interesting.
Does.
For both, like on the filming side, let alone what you people see. Like we're more excited about it than
sure.
Come on over to the East Coast. We'll do it more.
Yeah, we will. Folks, you know where to find me on the internet. I'm at Tankgirl, that's TNKGRL, on Twitter and on Instagram. Think of the comic book character Tankgirl and drop the vowels. That's how you get to that. And if you want to comment on this show, it'll be on Twitter. You should comment on Twitter and talk to Mr. Mobile and Mr. Cogen, the Unlockr, and myself. And then if you want to see pretty pictures of phones and taken with phones, like that real me once I get my review in it, go to my Instagram. A couple of YouTube channels you should be aware of. YouTube.com/MobileTechPodcast is the main channel. It's where you'll find unboxings primarily, but there's also some reviews and some hand-on videos. And that's basically the main channel right now. Subscribe, like, tell your friends, all that good stuff. There's also a new channel my producer and I are working on called youtube.com/mobiletechmore. And that's kind of where we're going to be putting a lot of smart home, travel tech, stuff that's peripheral to mobile, like maybe car stuff that doesn't fit nicely in the main channel. And we're trying to reach that magic 1,000 subscribers so we can monetize. So please think of subscribing. So youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast for the main, youtube.com/mobiletechmore for the secondary. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, all that good stuff. The podcast lives at mobiletechpodcast.com, and it's on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, pretty much anywhere good podcasts can be found. There's an RSS feed at that URL as well. If you're old school and you like to just do the old thing. If your app lets you rate the show or review the show, please consider doing that. It helps people discover the podcast, so I'd be appreciating that a lot.
Yeah, I have to do that.
Yeah, there's Patreon. We mentioned it. You should look into it. Patreon.com/Tankgirl. That's TNKGRL. And we've got a bunch of tiers there. There's a Discord channel where you can talk with me. That's one tier. There's like a basic tier, just basically you participating and helping out. We also have a tier where you get to see this video, mostly unedited. Like, we'll remove stuff that we shouldn't be mentioning, and we'll remove stuff that is under embargo. But mostly it's a raw version of the audio podcast with video that you get a day or two, generally 2 days ahead of the audio, which is pretty cool. So consider joining the Patreon. I would appreciate that. And then also, if you don't want to do that, but you want to donate in some way, there's a PayPal link in the show notes. So just click on that and make a donation. It would really help the channel. Finally, I want to thank our sponsor, Audible. Audible has been with the show for pretty much ever, and they're a wonderful sponsor. They basically give you a 30-day free trial, and you get to keep a book at the end. That's basically the deal. It's pretty straightforward. The URL for that is audibletrial.com/mobiletech. That's audibletrial.com Mobile Tech. What I personally like about Audible, I don't know if you guys use it, but for me, it's about this epic experience of like reading a book, but not actually having to read it. Instead, you just listen to it and you can chill and lay back and listen and get the epic experience of 9 hours, bringing it down to an hour here and there, or for road trips, or if you're a delivery driver delivering the DHL packages from Realme, and you need to keep your eyes on the road, you can do Audible action.
Or filming all day long, listening to Audible.
That's right, you're doing B-roll and you're listening to Audible.
All the time.
So there you go, folks. Audible has been with us for a long time. We want to thank them. audibletrial.com/mobiletech will get you a 3-day free trial. You get to keep a free book whether you stay or not, but hopefully you stay because you'll love it. Because if you're a bookworm, it's kind of a necessity to get Audible. I want to thank them, and I want to thank you two folks for hosting me here in New York City. First post-COVID trip, vaccinated trip.
Back in person, isn't it nice?
I know, it's fantastic.
I did forget what it was like to be in a room with no AC and the hot incandescent lights.
Right. Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
And folks, we'll have a podcast next week. So obviously stay tuned for that. And we'll see you then. Cheers, everybody.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.